Hello everyone. Newspaper reading is an art, and I believe that few are skilled in this art. It is very important for CSS PMS exams as well. You have to go through newspaper for almost at least 6 to 7 months in order to clear your exams in a good manner, to get a good allocation, to get a good score, and ultimately a good allocation. So there are few important things you must keep in mind while reading newspaper, that why are you reading this newspaper and which newspaper should be preferred for civil service exams, and when to start reading, and obviously lastly but most importantly, how and what to read from a newspaper. Because you need to be specific when you are reading a newspaper. You cannot read each and everything. For example, Nawaz Sharif said this to Imran Khan abused flan. These are not relevant to your CSS exams because you have a very specific goal to achieve. So you have to read specific things from your newspaper. So in this video we will discuss that what is newspaper reading, why it should be read on daily basis, and which part is relevant to you, and how to read that part. So my dear fellows, newspaper reading is important job for CSS PMS exams. It has three reasons to be important. First of all, it increases your exposure, your vocabulary, your sentence structure. You need to incorporate these things into your write-up. Obviously, you when you get some observations, some important things about country, about state affairs, you need to incorporate in your learning vocabulary, sentence structure as well. So when you incorporate these things, you can express your thoughts in a good manner. And obviously, expressing your thoughts in CSS is very important job. So newspaper helps you in this regard by enhancing your vocabulary, by enhancing your exposure, and by improving your sentence structure. Secondly, it helps you in the paper of current affair, in Pakistan studies, and in international relations as well. It increases your socio-political, economic knowledge about country, and continuously keeps on enhancing your knowledge about these things, which ultimately you can use for your papers, for your exams. Lastly, it reflects seriousness, some kind of mature attitude that you are aspiring for some goal and you are working on that on daily basis. It keeps on you motivated. When you stick to a daily routine of reading a newspaper, it keeps you motivated that you are at least doing something to achieve your goal. You are aspiring to be a civil servant, and for that you are reading newspaper on daily basis. That is a very mature thing to do for enhancing your knowledge and ultimately becoming what you want to become. So these three important things conclude that you must read your newspaper on daily basis so that you can achieve what you want to. So now comes the question that which newspaper should be preferred. Generally speaking, I cannot recommend a single newspaper as it would reflect my biasness towards certain content. But I think that mostly newspapers are good, especially the English language ones. So you should opt some English newspaper having English language as a medium of communication. But make sure that it should not be a partial platform which is reflecting yellow journalism or some kind of misguidance. There should be a there should be a criticism on state narrative, but it should be positive one. So that would be preferable news platforms. Rest is up to you. You can opt any news platform whichever suits you. Third important question is that when to start reading newspaper. Frankly speaking, when someone just thinks of appearing for CSS exams, he should start reading newspaper in order to enhance his knowledge or her knowledge or exposure and other things, and obviously vocabulary as well. So, but when you sit down specifically for CSS exams, you have decided that you are to appear for CSS this time, then it's obviously compulsory for you to start reading your newspaper on daily basis. It will help you in enhancing your knowledge about current affairs and other works as well. So it will make your mind active, and it will inspire you because you are working on daily basis, at least for your goal. So it will help you to keep on moving forward for CSS exams. So I think that when you have decided to start, when you have decided to appear for CSS exams, you need to start your reading of newspaper, and you should continue that reading for till December, because after that you will not be having sufficient time to continue, as you have to go through a lot of hectic routine of mocks and other things. So just you can manage till December, so that's sufficient for you. That knowledge, that current affair, that vocab, everything, that is sufficient till December. So after that you should try to incorporate those things in your practice. That's enough. So here comes the last but most important question, that how to read and what to read from a newspaper. So first of all, I will deal with the question that how to read a newspaper. There are two ways to read a newspaper. One is the hard form and the second one is soft form. In hard form, you can purchase a copy of newspaper on daily basis. You will get a delivery at your residence, and you can read that and extract important things out of that. I will come to that thing later on, that how to extract important things. And the second way is to read newspaper in soft form. You can for example, you can go for epaper.on at your laptop and start reading newspaper, your national international pages, and after that you can extract important articles out of that and can copy paste those articles in your respective folders on your laptop. So this is the how part, that how to read a newspaper on daily basis. Now comes the question that what is to be read from a newspaper. Basically, purpose of reading will decide that what is to be read from a newspaper. For example, if one wants to be a politician, he must read the relevant content which suits to be a politician. Similarly, if someone has a personal biases and wants to involve in petty debates and discussions and mudslinging on others and have personal interest, he should read such things which are relevant to him. Similarly, if someone wants to be a CSS aspirant, then he must focus or she must focus on reading newspaper only relevant to CSS exam point of view. So that will decide the content. And basically there are 4 to 5 different categories in newspaper. One is national, other is international, similarly there is editorial and financial page, and lastly there is a metropolitan as well. So you need to be much specific while reading all these certain categories, and you have to be very certain that you are reading right. Let's start with the national pages of your newspaper. I would recommend that you should read the national pages in detail, but only important topics. And keep in mind that when I'm talking about important points, it means that only important from exam point of view. So for the rest of the content, you can just go with the headings. You need not to go into details, unnecessary details. You should avoid reading petty political disputes, mudslinging, and so on. So you should just concentrate on socio-political, economic domain, similarly legislative domain. Furthermore, you can work on defense domain as well. You can read defense domain as well, and foreign policy domain is also important one. So you should just read these things which are important in a long term manner, which have important consequences for country, for country's affairs, for country's progress and development, for its governance, and so on. So these are about national pages. This is the content you should keep in mind while you are reading national pages. Rest of things you can skip, not a big deal, and just try to be smart while dealing with your national pages. For international pages, again you will have to keep in mind that you have to smartly study these pages. You have to just deal with the important topics of world politics and world affairs. Similarly, you will keep a good look on global governance relevant topics as well. Those topics which are relevant to global governance structure of the world, for example, international organizations, United Nations, European Union, and so on. And mainly you will focus on regionally important topics, for example South Asia, Southeast Asia, Middle East, Central Asia, and so on. And globally important topics are also equally important. You will keep in mind that you have to study those topics in a detailed manner. And lastly, you will carefully look into those topics which have any possible link with the Pakistan and the state and affairs of Pakistan. So this is all about international pages of your newspaper. In case of financial or economic pages, you need some preliminary work which will help you to understand those financial or economic pages. Without that preliminary work, you would not be able to understand those pages. For example, if you do not know what is budget, how budget is prepared, what are the contents of a budget, and similarly, you cannot understand that how a country is managed financially, what is revenue, what is expenditure, what is GDP, what is GNP. So you need to know all important key terminologies related to economics. You need to know that how budget is managed, how budget is made every year, every financial, every fiscal year. After that, you would be able to understand the financial or economic pages of a newspaper. So when you are done with this content, you can start reading your financial or economic pages. But again, you will deal smartly and selectively with those pages as well. You will just go into important and long-term economic consequences. And similarly, you will touch hot topics just like inflation, trade, foreign exchange reserves, and overall economic situation of country and economic policy of country. So these important things will be touched in financial or economic pages. Rest of things you can skip or just even go with the simply headings, and you can be assured that you are well aware about economic issues of country. Now comes the last point of my discussion, and that is editorial. But I think it is the most important one, as it contains analysis and it helps you shape your analysis on state matters, on the affairs of state, on current situation prevailing in your country, or different policy domains as well. So there are different two categories in editorial page. One is the personal dance editor contribution to that newspaper, and second one is the opinion side. I think I personally believe that the personal editor contributes good. You need to go into every paragraph, every article written by the personal editor of that newspaper. While we talk about opinion side, you have to look for a good writer. You have to select some good writers and you just focus on those writers. And while selecting good writers, you keep in mind that simple and straightforward writers are good writers. Those who want to impress you with your vocabulary or with your complex sentence structure or verbosity, they are not good writers. I personally think that simple and straightforwardness is the most effectiveness. So simple or straightforward writers are the good one. So just select few writers that you think that they are good, they express their things well, and they have a good insight of different matters of national and international matters, and just focus on those writers. And in a no time you will be able to understand their analysis and shape your own analysis, and you can take extracts from that opinion or that editorial side as well. Another question comes in mind, that how to extract important things out of a newspaper. There are two techniques to do that. One is to cut pieces out of a newspaper and paste them into your folder, and save them into your folder. And the second technique is to read your newspaper on laptop and drag important article from newspaper and paste them into their respective folders. You should make comprehensive scheme of your folders and subfolders. For example, when you come to the national folder of national newspapers, there should be social economic subfolder, social subfolder, similarly judicial, whatsoever that is relevant to your CSS point of view. So you should make the scheme of folders and subfolders and just drag important articles and paste them into relevant folders. After you have done that job, you can get print of important articles from your laptop, and you can read those those articles. Another question comes in mind, that how to extract important things out of a newspaper. There are two techniques to do that. One is to cut pieces out of a newspaper and paste them into your folder, and save them into your folder. And the second technique is to read your newspaper on laptop and drag important article from newspaper and paste them into their respective folders. You should make comprehensive scheme of your folders and subfolders. For example, when you come to the national folder of national newspapers, there should be social economic subfolder, social subfolder, similarly judicial, whatsoever that is relevant to your CSS point of view. So you should make the scheme of folders and subfolders and just drag important articles and paste them into relevant folders. After you have done that job, you can get print of important articles from your laptop, and you can read those newspaper those articles. So this was all about newspaper reading and extracting important things out of it. I hope I made my point clear, but still if someone has question, he or she can ask me. My contact number is given at the end of this video. So that's all. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.